vulnerability with truth plus God-led discernment and wisdom equals healing for yourself and others. That's an original Nurse Ann quote. What did you think? Today we're going to dig into that to learn more about vulnerability along with that discernment and boundaries and wisdom, to apply this so that we will have exponential and better growth and purpose for our lives, for healing and growth, and also for the lives that it spills onto of others with your unique talents, personality, situations that sometimes gets put back in a box. So I am Nurse Ann. I'm coming to you now from the front lines of mental health and emergency. I'm a certified emergency and mental health registered nurse for many years and still going. And this channel is to deliver doses for you every day of inspirational wellness for your body, mind, and spirit, because you know they work together in synergy. And I do want you to have the best vision for your life and your best health. So let's jump into today's episode. And don't forget, at the end, there's always a bonus and a prize, because I read you a quick, action-packed chapter of my published fictional drama. But you will have to buckle up, because you're going to be riding along with the frontline workers, the nurses, paramedics, doctors, the patients, the staff, the church, the community, the families, everyone that you can think of. You're going to be riding along with this action that has danger, action, romance, suspense, faith, and inspiration, along with advocacy and awareness. So stay to the end for that action and adventure. But let's jump into, as I said, vulnerability plus truth plus God-led discernment, wisdom equals healing for yourself and spilling that onto others. So we're going to kind of discuss why that is true. But I do want to tell you first what I was inspired by. It's kind of odd. I was inspired the other day by my tissue box. Look what it says. It says, vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courageous. And I know in a lot of situations that we find ourselves in, our day-to-day routines, in situations, we may find ourselves kind of stuck in a box of maybe acting the same way, feeling like we can't speak up about our true thoughts, personality. And yes, we have to work with discernment and boundaries about that. But we're going to dig in more in that, because I want you to be inspired to be your true self. And I was also inspired greatly, as you will be too, by Hosanna Wong, the spoken word artist and minister. And I believe at one point she said, our vulnerability is what heals others. And that was really backed up by her powerful and creative spoken words that really dig into the true essence of her life and the lives of others, and just the really intense things that we go through, that we can get healing for our own lives, trauma healing, healing from trauma bonds that I talk about in other podcasts, helping us make better decisions that I also talked about in other episodes. So let's get into that. I was greatly inspired also by a book that someone gave me by Brene Brown, and I appreciate a fellow nurse giving this to me. I think she saw in my own life that I'm trying to be creative and invulnerable to bring healing to others, and it's called Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. And I just want to read a little bit of this for you before we get into some more things to help you with your own vulnerability, healing, discernment, and creativity. So Brene Brown starts off with the phrase, daring greatly is from Theodore Roosevelt's speech, Citizenship in a Republic. The speech, sometimes referred to as the Man in the Arena, was delivered in Paris in 1910. This is the passage that made the speech famous. And this was inspirational. I think it will inspire you too, to think about a higher level. It is not the critic who counts, because you know we're always surrounded by critics. Critics in our own mind, our own brains. People can mock us and ridicule us online, in our day-to-day lives, in our families, friends, our arenas that we are in, we really can get mocked and ridiculed that causes us not to want to be vulnerable and share our own truths and our own talents. But anyway, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena. Are you in the arena of your life? Whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, but who comes short again and again. Yes, we have to get back up when we're mocked and ridiculed, and just learn ways of having boundaries and discernment and refining our creativity and talents in order to put it out in the best way. But once again, we can't get stuck on trying to make it perfect, or we'll never do it. Who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself or herself in a worthy cause. Think about that for a minute. What is a worthy cause for your life? Family, friends, what you see going on in society. As I said, I'm a certified emergency and mental health registered nurse on the front lines, and I see people struggling with so much, and that's a worthy cause. Mental health, homelessness, helping people heal, learning to heal ourselves first so that we can spill that on to others, because we've all been through stuff, and a lot of people have been through intense struggles and trauma and need that healing in their lives. And a lot of times it takes our vulnerability and truth and kindness and compassion as we go to help others heal. Moving on with this. Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, the title of this book. So it's just a great reminder for our life to dare greatly, dare to heal, dare to be vulnerable, dare to be authentic, dare to share your creativity and your talents. And it doesn't always have to be books or social media or podcasts. It can be cooking, taking care of people that you love. I mean, the list is really endless. We can go on and on. Share in the comments what some of your talents and creative pursuits and endeavors that you want to bring out more are. Share that now, and we'll talk about that. And of course, follow this channel, because it's going to help you with inspirational wellness and breaking out of your boxes, those mental bondages, and living your best life for body, mind, and spirit. And at my website, nurseann.com, that's Ann with an E. You can see it, the description in the website in the description. If you definitely want to go there, because there's so much inspirational wellness, a lot of things there to help you create, be creative, heal, and so much more for yourself and others. And then she wrote, the first time that she read this quote, she thought, this is vulnerability. Everything I've learned from over a decade of research on vulnerability has taught me this exact lesson. Vulnerability is not knowing victory or defeat. It's understanding this necessity of both. It's engaging. It's being all in. Yes. I also read another book, Going All In. I can't remember the author. I think it was Mark Battison. But it just talked about going all in for our lives, especially for our faith endeavors and what we're advocating for others. That's important. Vulnerability is not weakness. And a lot of people do try to act like your vulnerability is weakness if you're not fitting in with a so-called cool way, social media, culture way of doing things. They can say that you're weak, but your vulnerability can be strength. As I said, we do that with God-led discernment, wisdom, and boundaries, but definitely want to stay here to present ourselves. Vulnerability is not knowing victory or defeat. It's understanding the necessity of both. It's engaging. It's being all in. Vulnerability is not weakness, and the uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure we face every day are not optional. And sometimes we get into that mode where we do hide our true selves, and sometimes some situations we have to for the time, and using that discernment. But as we go and meet people who are going through things, and just as I said, through creativity we want to unleash, you have to take those risks and learn how to refine that. It's not optional. Our only choice is a question of engagement. Our willingness to own and engage with our vulnerability determines the depth of our courage and the clarity of our purpose, the level to which we protect ourselves from being vulnerable. It is a measure of our fear and disconnection. Fear stops us from a lot of things. And at my website and in my devotionals that we're going to get into a little bit, we talk about overcoming fear. When we spend our lives waiting until we're perfect or bulletproof before we walk into the arena, we ultimately sacrifice relationships and opportunities that might not be recoverable. We squander our precious time, and we turn our backs on our gifts. Even God in his word told us, don't live in fear. He gave us a power, love, and a sound mind, and to stir up our gifts, to spill those onto the lives of others. Perfect and bulletproof are seductive, but they don't exist in the human experience. We must walk into the arena, whatever it may be, a new relationship, an important meeting, our creative process, or a difficult family conversation, with courage and the willingness to engage. I'm so thankful that she gave me this book, because all this applies to what I'm doing in my life and yours too. Rather than sitting on the sidelines and hurling judgment and advice, we must dare to show up and let ourselves be seen. This is vulnerability. This is daring greatly. Just join me as we explore the answers to these questions. What drives our fear of being vulnerable? How are we protecting ourselves from vulnerability? What price are we paying when we shut down and disengage? And how do we own and engage with vulnerability so we can start transforming the way we live, love, parent, and lead? And she says how the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. And that's by Brene Brown. And she also, I noticed there's some chapters in there, she even got into, especially for men, young men, any age men, older men, how society puts them also sometimes in a box where they're not supposed to be vulnerable. But vulnerability can show up in many ways, and even being an advocate for others and not just being quiet, not jumping into the mold of society whereby sometimes we end up being quiet and or mistreating others to fit into that mold that we're told we have to. So it applies to men, it applies to women, it applies to children, it applies to everyone, especially even people in school. You know, they're always bullied, ridiculed, tried to push to fit into a certain box. And that's not really very healthy, is it? So as I said, I'm Nurse Ann, coming from the front lines. And I, in addition to being hopefully your favorite nurse, I'm a new indie author, and I started doing also spoken word. And I'm going to let you hear some excerpts that apply for my devotionals before we get into that bonus and prize at the end of that fictional drama, action, and adventure. So today, let's all get a drink of water. Nurse Ann is just getting over a cold, but we all need to stay healthy. Drink lots and lots of water and eat healthy foods and get lots of sleep and rest. Because when you're not healthy or you're tired, you don't always feel like being creative or having that energy. So the first one is for my Inspiration Battles devotional, Biblical Medicine for Real Life and Soul Searching with a Dose of Encouragement. It's an A to Z devotional, and today I chose, it's from the letter H, and it's actually entitled Humiliation. And you might ask how that goes along, but a lot of times when we're vulnerable, we feel humiliated, but we can learn and grow from that and refine, learn from that, heal, and then refine how we can still be vulnerable and put out the content that we want to put out. And not only that, humility, I think, is a big step in our lives to be vulnerable. When we heal and learn humility, it helps us because we see other people going through so much. And if we just keep our knowledge and our wisdom and our talents to ourselves, how are we even helping other people? Or are we just staying in that quiet box? So Humiliation by Nurse Ann. Being humiliated is, well, humiliating. How many of us like to be embarrassed in front of others? Unless we're doing something for the comedic effect, we probably don't want a crowd laughing at us. But during the course of this life journey, I have found that ranking up there at the top with pain, that being humiliated can be a great teaching tool and course corrector. It would be nice to just be able to read from a stack of books about humility, and then be able to pass all of our life tests. However, I was reminded while reading a book by the great teacher Mother Teresa that learning humility does not come from reading books, but actually from being humiliated. How do you think pain and humiliation, does that help you refine your life and get back on track and maybe learn better ways of doing things? Lead that in the comments. Our culture and many top-selling books and podcasts would like us to believe the opposite. We're often coached to win at all costs and keep up appearances as though we have it all together. Most of us have figured out that we're only a few steps away from tripping over ourselves and feeling foolish. And when everything seems to be going the way we would like, and we feel like we have accomplished so much in our own strength, it's easy to forget the truth. And it reminds me of the story in scripture about King Nebuchadnezzar. He was strutting around his palace in all of his royal pomp and bragging about how he had built everything in his own strength. But if you've not read the story, you might not believe what happened to him next. Because he didn't acknowledge God as his helper, his season of humility was swift and severe. Can you believe he was crawling on his hands and knees and eating grass like an animal until he looked up to heaven and acknowledged God as sovereign? Hopefully, we won't have to learn the value of humility by this extreme type of example. And in case you need more incentive to believe that humility holds value, the book of Proverbs has much to say about humility and the fear of the Lord, leading to riches, honor, and life. Inspiration Battles Devotional by Nurse Ann. Make sure you're liking, following, sharing with others who need healing, and so much more. And the next choices are from my mental healing poetry devotional, which life challenges are discussed along with the God-ordained courage and healing to help us turn away from mindsets controlled by fear, inspiration to step into our true destiny of a faith walk and purpose-driven path. Being vulnerable is about living that purpose-driven path for yourself and others. And I chose two today that really speak to breaking out of cages and boxes of what others think you should do, and just breaking out of those. And the first one is called Puppeted or Powerful. Puppeted or powerful. Craving approval, seeking validation, allowing others to puppet on a string. Do we share our creative gifts or conform to the pressure to fit in? Do we dare break out or just give up without trying to win? God's word provides a clue. If we listen and follow, we will know what to do. Stir up those gifts. Don't let anyone look down. Refuse to buckle under. Put back on your crown. So investigate your passions. Rekindle your vision. Don't worry about the crowd when you make your decision. Yes, God's ways are best, even when critics put you to the test. You can do this. The Lord didn't give you a spirit of fear. You have a purpose. There's a reason you're here. So tap into that power, the love, and also your sound mind. And through it all, a great blessing you'll find. And this is also a devotional. And the devotional reminds us to fit in with a particular crowd, or to not feel like we need to be worried about losing a certain status or position. We could be tempted to slide into a place where we think others are pulling our strings. Maybe we don't want to make waves, or we fear starting a disagreement. Perhaps we don't want to stand out and look different. This mindset can stop us from advocating for others who might be getting bullied. But unfortunately, these limiting thoughts can also hamper us from standing up for our own convictions. Yes, we need to cooperate with others in the sense of unity, but we all have unique talents and contributions. You have unique talents and contributions that don't have to be silenced to walk in prosperity and blessings. And that was Puppeted or Powerful. And at my website on the spoken word poetry tab, I read some of these on a video style for you to also see, to encourage you. And the other one is pretty similar, but a little bit different, and it's called caged to conformity. These really speak to my life because I do try to live with purpose and creativity. And especially in our normal everyday surroundings, it's really hard to stay encouraged to do that sometimes because society and media people want you to stay in just like a certain way of doing things, and can really either outwardly or subliminally or behind your back or behind the scenes mock and ridicule you and kind of making you want to get back into that quiet little box. But that's not a way to live. And as I said, we can do it with discernment, wisdom, boundaries, learn ways to refine it and make it better, and have growth and healing for ourselves and others. So, Cage to Conformity by Nurse Ann. Are you stuck in a cage? Your life limited to just one page. Your heart cries out to engage while your soul fire sparks up a rage. Of course, deep down, you really know why. In His Word, God never told us to just comply, but instead to soar. Like an eagle, we must fly. Loose the shackles away from the ground and head for the sky. We're not made to conform, even though mediocrity rules the norm. Allow His Spirit to change and release. Take a hold of something new. Allow Him to reform. So today, yes, out of that cage you must break. Rip off those shackles by force, or if need by an earthquake. Grab a hold of the vision, and with the past, make a clean break. In Proverbs 29:18, it inspires that. It says, where there's no vision, the people perish or fall away, but happy are those who keep the law. So you have to have a vision for your life and for others, for your family. And the devotional part of this reminds us that mediocrity and complacency don't have to define your life. No, they don't. We can choose wise but courageous paths that will be influential, say that 3 times, influential to ourselves, our families, and those touched by our character. Many times in Scripture, ordinary people receive instruction to take courage. They were advised to trust in the Lord and seek His stronger will. God can send people to help us, and heavenly armies that we might not even know are protecting us. So lift your head. It's not over yet. Carry on and don't be afraid. Cage to Conformity by Nurse Ann. What did you think about my original spoken word? Please leave that in the comments. I love feedback. Even if you have some criticisms, I'm okay with that because I like to learn and grow. And so please leave what you thought, if that inspires you or whatever. I also wrote 3 more. I'm going to share one from Ignite Life Poetry Devotional. And there's also, I'm not going to share from these 2 today, but there's Word Puzzles Devotional, which is interesting and unique words linked to our everyday life and inner thought struggles. You also get medicine for your soul in here. Don't you need that? Soul medicine. There's Energized Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit. As I said, our body, mind, and spirit, they work together in synergy. So one more drink of water, and then I'm going to read you something from Ignite Life Poetry Devotional. I want you to live an ignited life instead of feeling stuck in your mind or your surroundings. And this helps us to spill our passion to ignite healing and blessings for all. As we go, we can discover stories that other people are going through. And this book has a lot of spoken word in here, short but sweet, but it's really advocating for what people go through in many situations that I see in life and on the front lines of mental health and emergency, and just your day-to-day life. And it helps to encourage you to be an advocate for yourself and others. So today I chose, because this isn't just about my creativity, it's really, this channel is inspire your creativity and you're being brave and getting the healing that you need. So it's called Your Turn. And I actually do this one at my website on the spoken word poetry tab, and that's nurseann.com, and with an E. So your turn. Now it's your turn. I hand you the pen. I know it's a spatula, but anyway, now it's your turn. I hand you the pen. Stir up your gifts, mix it up, make it churn. We need your unique voice in this world full of choice. So come on, let it out. Release a creative along with a shout. Show us what's inside. No need to look down. Head up, stand straight, your talent, your pride. And the devotional part says, and I mean this, I'm extremely ready to see now what you will create. It could be poetry, art, stories, comedy, songs, spoken word, as I said, cooking, helping others, sewing, whatever. There's so much. It's spoken word, etc., etc. Get creative. Ignite Life Poetry Devotional by Nurse Ann. Link on the website for all my indie authored books. So as I said, let's jump into the bonus, the prize. And it's from my 6-part drama series that I created in my free time as a busy nurse on the front lines of mental health and emergency. And it goes over homelessness, addictions, relapse, mind battles, thought disorders, dementia, Alzheimer's, autism, the spectrum, people getting bullied, anxiety, entitled patients. It goes over how the community and the church and the families help in these endeavors, and sometimes how people don't want to help because a lot of people do want to stay in their boxes and their comfortable status quo lives. So we've already done book 1, which is Sheep Among Wolves. You can go to thenurseand.com and the YouTube videos, and if you want to watch it in order from the beginning. We finished book 1, Sheep Among Wolves. You met the young lady fending for herself on the street while battling ravenous predatory people, wolves, and trying to stop those frightening hallucinations. And this is real life. This happens in real life. In Dr. John Doe, we finished, which you met the elderly man running in traffic, screaming he was a doctor, and also the frontline workers, their relationship drama and their inner thought battles. And now we're in book 3, A Tent Under the Bridge. I'm about to jump into that. But after that, it's Defenders of the Weak. We deal with bullying and anxiety and how they help each other get over that. And then the mental files, Ready, Willing, and Able. We talk about autism and spectrum and any disability and how people, whether you have a disability or a label diagnosis, that you can definitely dig into your creative gifts and contribute to life, and actually a lot of times be the actual hero in others' lives, no matter what your label is. And then the season finale, because it's written to be a television drama series with your help, is The Mental Files Out of Control. One more won't hurt. When does a seemingly harmless fun cross into the realm of out of control, placing others in danger? Does the entitled patient comply with his treatment, or will he make the frontline workers pay? Will the big event get canceled due to the officer's mistake? Can he be forgiven, given the benefit of the doubt? What will reign? New beginnings or old habits? Right along on the continuing drama series. The shifts are 24/7. Buckle up for that bumpy ride. So before we jump into the quick action-packed chapter, I want to tell you to make it easier, and it's almost free. I put it in one book. It's the Mental Files First 6 Stories edition. Link on the website. And also, since we don't always have time to read, and just to make it exciting, it's in an audiobook at Audible and iTunes. This is what it looks like. It was narrated by Drama Simpson, who brought it to life with siren noises, lots and lots and lots of action that you can hear in the different characters. So you feel like you're right there in that action, that television drama series. The Mental Files First 6 Stories edition, Audible and iTunes by Nurse Ann. So I know you want to go. You got other things to do, other podcasts to watch. So we're going to do chapter 9, Abigail Overhears. And if you want to hear the other chapters, you can go back to the other videos and or the Patreon and podcast channel at my website. They're all in order, along with different bonus things for you. Abigail Overhears. After Abigail had been on the psychiatric unit for 2 days, she could not stop pacing the hall. She was starting to get livid about not being discharged and released yet. What is the deal? I've told everyone on staff that I'm not going to hurt myself. I need to go check on my stuff. She lived in a tent under the bridge, and she needed everything she had in that tent. After the morning rounds, she started to feel a glimmer of hope. The team said that they could not hold her against her will. They still encouraged her to allow them to find her suitable housing. But if she chose to go, she could be released in an hour. Yes, play it cool, Abby, she warned herself. After breakfast, the nurses were talking among themselves at the desk. One more drink of water. Get one for yourself. Lots and lots of water. Angela, so the nurses are talking at the desk. Angela, how was your time at the boarding home with the girls? Asked her coworker. It was great. The girls loved to have visitors. They especially were excited about the gift bags for expectant mothers we sent over. Well, how is Julie? Asked the other nurse. Pretty good. I'm concerned that she has not fully accepted her pregnancy. She was actually the young lady on the street battling frightening hallucinations. They got her into a safe boarding home for expectant mothers, but she's still not quite in the reality of what's going on. I'm concerned she has not fully accepted her pregnancy. And what really worries me, dun dun dun, is that she has been asking the other girls to look online to try to locate her mom. I'm pretty sure her mom is homeless. And Julie went through a lot of trauma growing up with her. That does sound worrisome. Does she seem stable on her medicines? Asked Nurse Josie. Thankfully, she is taking her meds. The staff at the boarding home report that she does not seem to be hearing any voices, replied Angela. Unknown to the nurses. Their conversation carried a little too far. As Abigail paced while waiting for her discharge papers, her curiosity was piqued at the familiar name she overheard. Is that my long-lost Julie they're discussing? She wondered quietly. My baby, I miss her. Inching closer to the nurse's desk, Abigail fiercely scribbled the information about the boarding home that she overheard. After receiving her discharge papers, she could not exit the unit quickly enough. She even turned down the taxi that was offered and opted to ride the bus. Hurrying to her tent, the homeless woman was now on a mission. And that's the end of chapter 9. What's going to happen next? You're going to have to see the next nurseann.com podcast to find out. But first, follow, like, share, leave your comments today, please. I love feedback. It's going to help us others be vulnerable with discernment, wisdom. God will help you with that. Be courageous. Share your creative talents and gifts. And I will see you at the next episode. Have a great day.